Alright, hello everyone, this is Crota coming at you with a game between Empire's Kaz versus Acer's Nercio here on New Quirk Precinct TE, which I believe stands for Tournament Edition. Nercio spawning as the red Zerg on the bottom left hand side, meanwhile Kaz spawning as the blue Terran player on the bottom right. Now I apologize in advance for some of my previous games. I think I was just casting way more tired than I realized. I had just spent the weekend working with high school students and just volunteering. I had a retreat with them, and boy, after I hit 30 and after listening to a lot of dubstep, I still hear it now, and it's like 4 days later, so hopefully I will recover. Still having a little bit of problem sleeping, but I do feel sharper than I was, well, I'll say 3 days ago. Let's take a look at this as Nercio is going to be moving out with this Overlord, and it looks like he's just going to be scouting early on with this drone to make sure that there isn't a proxy barracks. However, proxy barracks will be the strategy coming in from Kaz, as Kaz is building these proxy barracks just outside of the vents off to the north. Will Nercio spot this is the key question. And let's take a look at the route at which he is doing this. And oh my goodness, if Kaz accidentally builds on the wrong side here, this could be the downside of him. There it is. And Nercio does in fact spot the proxy barracks coming into play. The SCV now switching locations as Kaz, hoping that he can finish these barracks without this drone bothering all too much. Now, the drone is getting in a lot of hits here. The SCV down to 10 hit points, down to 5, and he will try and slip away. There you go, as another SCV is going to start to get focused down. However, the Marine is already being trained. You can see that the SCV is trying to work overtime. Oh, this SCV could get taken down. Yes, it does get taken down there, as the two drones are already slowing down that one particular build. However, the drone does have to be very careful. Nercio cannot afford to lose drones at this point, as the Marine is now out. The drone is going to be backing off, and that drone down to 11 hit points will be able to come back and live and fight another day. Meanwhile, the front door of Kaz is very wide open. Spawning pool is about halfway done, and with no bunker coming in, I cannot imagine this particular strategy working out all too well. Nercio now moving over with this one single drone. SCVs are being brought over as a second supply depot now being placed down. One very gung-ho SCV up in the front here as the drones are now coming in. All right, it is going to be 6 drones off versus 1 SCV, and there is the SCV. What is he doing? He is just giving it all for the greater good, as one drone may get taken down. Yes, one drone does get taken down here, as the Marines are still backing off here. Another SCV does get taken down, but we are already getting up a bunker. That bunker is going to be very important with a range of 7. It does outrange all of these units, as the Marines now pulling back here, trying to make sure that they do not get surrounded. More Marines should be coming in, as the SCVs are working together and fighting off the swarm. So far, the drones and the Marines are battling it out still. One Marine, or 2 of the Marines, very low on hit points, but somehow still staying alive, as we see a cancellation on that bunker. All right, Marines jumping inside the bunker now. All right, but the spine crawler will be able to poke apart the SCVs and even take apart this bunker, I believe. Oh, not canceled. And that may be the end of this push right here, right now. Kaz has a lot of ground to make up. As you're going to see, there is the Marine just doing a little bit of fighting there, as the bunker is now getting poked. Oh, if the timing on this is just right, he could actually try and micro this so that every time the bunker is about to hit oh, there goes a poor Marine. Wow, the physics effects in play there, as the bunker down to 25 hit points. It is salvaged for 75 minerals. And now the barracks will most likely be lifting off after this last round of Marines and heading back home, as Kaz will have to go back and lick his wounds. All right, so let's take a look at the losses. 400 versus 325. Harvester count 17 to 13. Second command center finally coming into play, as Kaz was unsuccessful with that proxy 2 racks. 15 Zerglings may catch some of these Marines out in the open field, and this just goes to show you that these players have such good awareness of the strategies coming into play, and Nercio very relentlessly hunted for that proxy 2 racks. I think if he had just built right here instead, or out right underneath the front door, that may have actually worked out a bit better, as the Marines are now corralling and cleaning up some of those Zerglings. The losses are about even, but you just cannot take a look at who has lost more, as the current unit layout and the current unit count, 26 drones versus 17 SCVs, definitely favors Nercio at this point. Now, coming back around, Kaz may try and transition into very, very heavy bio. You can see 2 barracks now coming into play. There are a whole bunch of Marines down on the low ground. Perhaps the lower hit point Marine should be on the inside, as that poor Zergling not going to make it up the ramp at all. But this is the perfect opportunity and the time for Nercio to set up an expansion. He already has his opponent a bit contained. He had an Overlord inside here moments ago, so he knows that his opponent is not going to be able to get very much tech going on. Even if he just quickly throws down 4 refineries, he knows that the refineries are not going to really play that big of a difference in terms of tech, and it does take about 100 or 1 minute to just get the factory, and then another minute after that to get the starport before you even get medevacs, and then you also have to worry about how you're spending your gas on stim. So there is that third base that I mentioned Nercio should be going for. It is now down, and Nercio should just power drone his way into the mid game and take this game sometime in between the 14 to 18 minute mark. What Kaz can do is do some very, very heavy harassment. You can see that the Marines finishing off a lot of those Zerglings. Down they go, as Kaz is now just walking with these Marines in a very good patrol group. This is one of the things that I am very, very aware of when walking out with Marines. If you're playing StarCraft 2 and wonder what exactly is going on, how come my Marines are always in a single file line, you gotta make sure you group them together, click on the inside of them, and then move them out so they actually walk in that formation. This formation is so much more powerful, as the Zerglings will get cleaned up here. There they go. And that is just really using the range advantage on those Marines. You can see that they're trying to push forward, but the Spine Crawler is going to get there. There goes the Spine Crawler, now taken down. And this is exactly what Kaz needed to do. He needed to find a window of opportunity, and it looks like he has found it, as the Queens are now going to perhaps try to come back in. Oh, this could be very bad. Kaz now getting a little bit of distance there, as the Queens are now over nearby. The Queens with those spines with a range of 5 now, the same as a Marine. Very, very much able to engage and fight. The Marines now being forced to back off there. You can see that the losses are now higher for Nercio, and I still gotta believe that Kaz is gonna fall behind here, as the Zerglings should be able to surround and swarm. Oh, 3 Marines get separated from the rest of the group, and that was a horrible loss there. Down 1 Marine in that section means that you are not able to one-shot those Zerglings any longer, from 6 down to 5, but Kaz quickly responds and then comes in with a siege tank on the high ground to quickly shoot down those Zerglings. Alright, front door does have double engineering bays, will be very difficult to take out. Meanwhile, on top of that, siege tank does provide some additional high ground cover, as we're going into level 1 weapons and armor upgrades with stim for Kaz. Meanwhile, Nercio now getting level 1 armor and weapons upgrades as well. He is taking the tier 2 nearly completed, and he should be able to start 2-2 upgrades the moment 1-1 upgrades are done. You can see that the orbital commands are now lifting off and landing wherever they need to go. Another barracks being placed down, and I'm curious. Oh, there is the starport. Starport should be lifting off and landing in just a second, as we're already going into 7 barracks play. So 7 barracks, and Kaz doing a very traditional Brood War-esque push here. He's going to have Marines and siege tanks with medevacs, or medevacs, and this may be exactly what he needs to do. Kaz, if he can push forward with these units, he can trade extremely well, as long as Nercio doesn't get too much of an army advantage. He currently has a 12 supply advantage in terms of his army, but that is going to grow rather quickly. Meanwhile, 2-2 upgrades already being started just as 1-1 upgrades are completing for Kaz. You can see the armory is now in play. We should be seeing level 2 weapons and armor upgrades in just a second as well, and perhaps even starting the production starting the production of some Widow Mines there, as the Widow Mines are now cranking things up and perhaps will be able to really weaken and thin out the army. Nercio perhaps hoping that he can get those Widow Mines to blast back in on themselves. That's been a very common strategy of Zerg players lately when fighting against Terran, taking a Zergling and running it straight past a Widow Mine, hoping that it takes down Marines. Very, very common in the days of Brood War, using Speedlings to try and run units past a spider mine, hoping that it crashes into a group of Marines. More often happening with Zealots instead, since Zealots do have a bit more hit points and can take a little bit and soak up a little bit more damage. All right, interesting by Nercio. Nercio is expanding here, but he's not going to be, or he's already laying down creep tumors, but he won't be able to expand here because of the creep tumors. I do believe they should be blocking any sort of hatchery that does go down. Nercio, however, can spot these creep tumors very easily and destroy them. All right, here we go. Concussive shells concussive grenades have been researched, and there you go. There's the concussive grenades. Roaches quickly making their way forward. But with 0-1 upgrades, perhaps the Marines should have stuck around. 1-1 upgrades against 0-1 does have the combat shield, but now we're looking at a very large group of roaches and banelings, and it looks as though Nercio is just going to flat out try and destroy his opponent here. All right, there's the attack. The banelings do not get really destroyed all that much. So many banelings melting my computer on top of everything else here, as Kaz is going to be losing all of these workers. Bunker already taken down, and the line has been broken. A straight up one single attack against Kaz's base. Nercio just maxing up, getting up to 200 supplies, saying to himself, you know what, I have the economic advantage. Let me just flat out win this. I have broken the line, and I believe Kaz will be giving the GG here in just a second. On the far side of the map, you can see a couple of Marines and Marauders hoping to get damage as well. It looks as though they are going to be able to get some kills here, but not very much. He is not going to be trading nearly as efficiently as his opponent with a 79 army supply to 41. Marauders, by their lonesome, will get destroyed here, as all the drones now just going to finish this off. The drones say to themselves, you know what, I have 0-2 upgrades. I can take a little bit of machine gun fire. I'm okay with that. And with that, the queens are there. There's the GG, as Nercio takes game 1 here in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Please stay tuned for game 2.